So the answer is everything.
Unfortunately, you have plenty to choose from here at the library.
Yes. All right, let's get this party started. Hello, and welcome to OPL's mini episode series, The New Title Drop, where we share titles coming out this month for May of 2026. I am Angela, and I am here with Melanie and Mark, and we are all collection development librarians.
To get us started this week, I'm going to take advantage of my own area of book buying and ask, what's your favorite kind of nonfiction to read?
I suggested this question because I love it, but I don't know the answer for myself. Does anyone else want to start?
I mean, I don't have like a definitive, I don't think. I do like to read some self-improvement every now and then. I like some poetry.
What kind of self-improvement do you like?
Oh gosh, like, I don't even know. Improving my mind mostly, and staying calm and being present, and finding boundaries and all those important things that I need help with. And memoirs, especially of female athletes, like Billie Jean King's All In, which was like way longer of a book than I would normally read, but it was Billie Jean King, so I had to read it.
You had to do it.
Yes, yeah. Exactly. Some graphic novel memoirs are always good too.
Y'all, graphic novels come in nonfiction too. And
I know.
I love it.
Great.
I love all of it.
Those are probably my biggest ones for now.
I do have a definitive answer because it's cookbooks. Nothing makes me happier than sitting down with a new cookbook. It's just such a multi-sensory experience. Enjoying the beautiful pictures, thinking about what you're going to make, imagining what it would be like to have access to some of the ingredients you would need to make it. Spinning off from that, I also really like culinary and cultural history as sort of adjacent to that. It's getting a little bit older now, but Jennifer Atley's The Fortune Cookie Chronicles is just this amazing like study of Chinese American food and the Chinese American experience. There are so many wonderful things that get wrapped up in cooking that it makes it a really rewarding place to read.
Love it.
Yeah.
I'm hungry.
I have to confess, cookbooks intimidate me. Like both the library ones and the ones I buy. And by the ones I buy, I've never bought one. I mean, the ones that are gifted to me because I love them so much and they're beautiful, but I am so intimidated to like spill on them or, like they're so sacred and beautiful that I don't want to mess them up. And I feel like that is so contrary to what books do for me. Like I want to live the book. So they seem so fragile. I know they're not, but they do. They seem so fragile and I don't know. I'm intimidated by cookbooks. So that's not my favorite, but I agree with you that culinary history is amazing. Tastemakers. Anyway. But my favorites are hard to tell because I love nonfiction in general. I love learning about all kinds of things. So I can't point to any of the call numbers and be like, I don't like that one. I can't point to any. I am a very big, our boss said, oh, it's celebrity memoirs. Yes, I love celebrity memoirs, but I love all memoirs. I love writer memoirs, poetry memoirs, any memoir that comes from actually any life. I don't care. And especially if I don't know about it. If it's like, a person who digs ditches in Antarctica, I want to know about it. Is that a thing that happens? I don't know. But if you find that memoir, I will read it. But also, I love like self-help that has like kind of a spiritual connection, anything about walking, like I love books about walking. I love books about nature. I love history. I love microhistories. So it's very hard to pick favorites. And anything about cults. I just have to read it. So, yeah. So the answer is everything.
Unfortunately, you have plenty to choose from here at the library.
Yes. So I think I'll start because my first pick is nonfiction. I mean, that's very surprising. I know. So Backtalker by Kimberle Williams Crenshaw is coming out on May 5th. And she is most known for her momentous expanding of consciousness through work that led to the understanding of intersectionality and critical race theory. This memoir gives light to her upbringing that allowed for expansive thought and critique on current structures. As the daughter of a teacher and public servant, both of whom went about their work with fervor and passion, she learned that she could talk back and use that to work her worldview into everything that she experienced as she grew up. She looks at current events through that lens from basic storylines and expands them with things like the Anita Hill story and how some movements overlook women. And in the tradition of memoir with political commentary, Crenshaw unifies a deeply moving personal story full of vulnerability to shed light on the impacts of political and social systems. Kiesi Layman, who, if he wrote a book, which was only book blurbs, I would read it because his book blurbs are beautiful, says, "It is rare that creators of movements that shake the world use the memoir form to honestly and precisely explore how their will to change was created. Kimberle Crenshaw has made a fleshy piece of theory, a foundational book for this nation, a moving memoir that will continue to build on the monumental work Crenshaw has already done. We will thankfully be feeling the work of this book for generations." And Henry Louis Gates adds, "Kimberle Crenshaw is one of America's most original legal thinkers, a pioneering theorist whose scholarship has transformed the way we think about race, gender, and the law. And now, in Backtalker, her powerful new memoir, she reminds us of the greatest teacher of all, experience. Here is a compelling account of the making not only of a visionary mind on the front lines of change, but of the we that binds us to one another in families, communities, and in the nation as a whole."
I've got a book for you that I knew from the moment we unboxed an advanced reading copy of it that I was going to have to dig into, and I'm so glad I did. That's Canon by Paige Lewis, which will release on May 19th. Paige Lewis, a poet, launches readers into a stratospherically absurd and funny hero's journey with this debut novel. Interwoven plot threads involve Yara, who's been commissioned by God to slay the leader of the bad guys, that's capital B, capital G, and Adrena, a prophet hoping to intercept Yara's quest for her own ends. It's easiest to set the tone for this novel by introducing you to the supporting character, How Big? A whale who speaks exclusively in all caps and claims to be the reincarnation of Jacques Cousteau. LitHub chose this title as one of their most anticipated of 2026, saying, "Form-wise, I've never read anything quite like it. Chatty, polyphonic, unabashedly meta, and content-wise, it manages to take a very old kind of story. Chosen One sets out to stop evil warlord, then turns it upside down and gives it a shake to see what kind of treats fall out of its pockets. The book's been blurbed by John Green, Tommy Orange, Carmen Maria Machado, Dennis Smith, but I'm going to leave the last word to Karen Russell, who calls it an unprecedented page-turner. I wish I could spend 1,000 more pages with the narrator of Canon, whose keenness, kindness, associative brilliance, storytelling authority, and crow-black humor make every line of this utterly singular novel a surprise and a delight. Canon filled me with overwhelming joy that such an extraordinary story exists."
Wow. Fascinating. I have to check that one out. Okay, the one that I have to share first is Artifacts by Natalie Lemle. It comes out May 19th. This debut novel is told in alternative timelines following a young Lena during a summer study abroad program in the Italian Alps, and the present-day Lena, now a trusts and estates attorney, being asked to assist on a case where the Italian government claims an ancient dichrotic glass was illegally sold to a museum. Lena has spent much of her life after the study abroad program trying to forget it, after events that occurred there shattered her dreams of being an archaeologist. According to a Library Journal review, the site had been looted, but what was taken is unknown. Her Italian boyfriend had some sketchy connections in the antiquities world. The shadow of the Italian mafia hovered over everything, and one of the directors of the dig abruptly disappeared without a trace. Now she fears the artifacts in question could have been from this same site that she worked on then. Author Kristen Arnett says it's a sprawling trip through time, weaving together a web of fine art, history, and long-held secrets. Finally written with a master's attention to detail, Lemle guides us deftly through the world of the ancient past, unearthing pockets of deep beauty. This book is twisty, delicious fun. And author Emily Everett says, not a lot of books can whisk you from an extravagant museum opening in New York to a dusty archaeological dig in Italy, but Natalie Lemle's rich story of intrigue and guilt will have readers swept up into the world of enigmatic power players in the black market of stolen antiquities. Artifacts explores the complications of what we inherit, not just from our parents, but from our history and heritage too. Teasing out thorny, unanswerable questions, Lemle works comfortably in the gray areas, as the best novelists do. I couldn't put it down, and I couldn't believe it was a debut.
Very nice. Okay, my next book for you is Wondrous. Make Believe on Telling Stories to Children by Mac Barnett is a book about the impact of reading stories to children. He should know, as the U.S. National Ambassador for Young People's Literature appointed by the Library of Congress for his work with children's books. This book is a call for art and creativity and an ode to the power of storytelling and the connection it brings. A book full of humor and a reminder about the reason we love children's books for what they were to us and what they create with our children. Kirkus Reviews says Barnett offers not a sociology of reading or a history of writing. Instead, he gives us a conversational essay on wonder. This is not a work of scholarship. It's a meditation on what gives life meaning. The author's voice comes alive as if he's talking to you over coffee. What we realize as Barnett rises to his theme is that his goal is not so much to describe, but to convince. For in this church of storytelling, we are sinners who believe our job is to mold the child like clay. Instead, let's grace the child with joy and in the process, find the playful child in us. A loving sermon on the rewards of children's books. And Dave Edgars adds, Mac Barnett is an American treasure, and his thesis here is right. The great books for young readers are not educational pamphlets. They're great and weird and funny and new stories. Having witnessed kids writing their own stories for the last 25 years, I've seen that what they're interested in is not the trite lessons and tidy morals, but narratives involving talking snack foods and interplanetary royalty. Kids are very strange and original beings, and the books we send their way should be strange and original too. Mac has shown this brilliantly in his own work, and here lays out an urgent path for the rest of us. It's out on May 5th.
Really excited to read that.
Me too. I can't wait.
As I say, I'll amend my nonfiction preferences with nonfiction books about children reading because that sounds great.
Right. Like if there was a book club, we'd read it all together. Yeah. We should make a podcast book club.
Ooh,
why not?
Yeah.
My second read is The Echoing Universe, How Radio Astronomy Helps Us See the Invisible Cosmos by Emma Chapman, also releasing May 19th. I'm going to borrow an introduction from Kirkus Reviews. While 400 years of magnifying light with telescopes produced spectacular discoveries, there are other ways of examining stars. Human eyes see only a minuscule fraction of a huge spectrum that ranges from tiny gamma rays and X-rays to long microwaves and immensely long radio waves. Discovered in the 1880s, radio waves proved useful in communication because they aren't stopped by clouds, rain, or even buildings. By the 1930s, engineers noticed an annoying background hiss that accompanied all radio transmissions. A few amateurs claimed that hiss came from the stars, but it took decades before engineers and astronomers believed them. Astrophysicist Emma Chapman writes a love letter to the radio telescope and the history and potential of the ways in which radio expands our view of the universe. For example, it was radio astronomy that allowed NASA to be confident the first astronauts on the moon would step out onto solid ground. Jill Tarter, one of the founders of SETI, says of this gem of science writing that the joy and energy with which this text is written are sure to generate an inspired crop of future scientific explorers who relish in the ability to observe day or night, rain or shine.
See, that's what nonfiction does. I would have never thought to read a book about radio astronomy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it would have never occurred to me, but now I want to really.
Totally interested. Yeah. All right. My next one has nothing to do with science, as far as I know.
Everything is science, Melanie.
Maybe. House of Margins by Tsamaase comes out May 26th. Tsamaase is a Botswana author of the African futurist horror novel Womb City and is currently a PhD student at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. Anaya, an up-and-coming author, has disappeared from a writing residency at a colonial mansion on Devil's Peak, Cape Town. She and 4 other writers were there competing for a grand prize to write the next great African literary masterpiece. In the aftermath of the disappearance, a sensationalized podcast from one of the other writers claims to have all the details of what occurred, but Anaya's sister, Renewa, is skeptical. The reader/podcast listener learns of Anaya's nightmares, distorted visions, and supernatural visitations in what a library journal review says portend a grim history of the mansion that houses the fellowship, while Renewa continues to sleuth out what really happened. The Library Journal review calls this a razor-sharp horror mystery that horrifies and haunts well past the last page. Author Vincent Torrado says House of Margins skillfully dissects bloody colonial history with a tale of sisterly devotion, righteous anger, and sacrifice too big for one person to shoulder. This will live with me for a long time. Make no mistake, Tsamaase pulls no punches. And author Maria Turad says, taking aim at colonialism, Tsamaase masterfully utilizes the Gothic genre to blend the unfolding horror of the house with the horror of a brutal regime that destroyed people, culture, and land in ways that reverberate to this day. A stunning commentary that balances atrocity with art, House of Margins is a must-read for fans of Gothic horror the world over.
Oh, that sounds very sad. And also, I want to read it.
You managed to make that sounds very sad come across in a very excited way.
Oops. I think sadness brings us closer to like aspects of humanity that we don't know about, and like it's interesting to open those pathways, even though the sadness is not good. But I think the darkness, when we don't know about it, it's way worse. So I'm not happy about the sadness, but I'm happy about the light being shed on the topic. Okay, so I have a fiction book. I do have one by Vaishnavi Patel, and I love her work. Ikai was like one of my favorites. And the new book is called We Dance Upon Demons. Patel is the writer of 2 previous novels that expand on Indian mythology with predominantly female characters. This time around, she jumps into the modern era with an overwhelmed healthcare worker struggling with depression. When she goes to an Indian art exhibit for a break, she suddenly feels very strange. She starts bleeding and then collapses. She remembers a statue that called to her, and in the following days, she feels this weird power coming over her. But she also feels how this puts her in danger, attracting the attention of those who want to steal the power from her. She's soon trying to navigate fights in the physical realm and outside of it, and has to determine who she wants to be and what she will fight for as the danger increases for her and her family. Maya C. James calls it the most unique and exciting premise for a story that I have read in the past few months. Patel fits multiple threats and subplots into We Dance Upon Demons without losing sight of the main conflict. A powerful book with lots of momentum and characters who wear their hearts on their sleeves. I'm always going to commend and recommend a book that can make me laugh, feel angry, sad, and vindicated all in one read. And Patel excels in giving us a protagonist to root for. And Publishers Weekly adds, Patel uses fascinating, fantastical elements to augment a stirring and timely tale about the progressively volatile status of reproductive rights in the United States. The magic system, drawn from Hindu mythology, feels fresh, and it's deeply satisfying to witness Nisha learn what she's truly capable of. It's a brilliant combination of gripping urban fantasy and urgent social commentary, out on May 12th.
Excellent. My third title is Bone of My Bone by Johanna van Veen, which will release on May 26th. I am predictable in certain areas of my reading. If you give me a horror novel with a medieval or early modern setting and heavy religious themes in the horror, I'm already half sold.
Noted.
The publisher's marketing pitches this as a sapphic folk horror tour de force and a natural read-alike for fans of Cassandra Claus' The Salt Grows Heavy. Conveniently for me, that is one of my favorite macabre reads of the last few years, so I'm all on board. The year, 1635. Sister Ursula, a young nun fleeing the ruins of her convent, and Elspeth, a sharp-witted peasant, escape a band of marauding soldiers and disappear into the Bavarian forest. War scorches the land. No one survives it alone. Amid the devastation, they find something in the arms of a dying man, the gilded skull of a saint. It's said that if you reunite the saint's skull with her body, a wish will be granted. Desperate for salvation, each with secret desires of their own, Ursula and Elspeth follow a ragged map across the blighted countryside, but darkness is following them. A necromancer drawn to the relic's power, the saint herself, whispering at night. And as the lines between blessing and curse blur, the women must face a harrowing truth. Magic they're seeking comes at a cost. Blogger Cats Love Coffee calls Van Veen's Bone of My Bone a visceral, cannibalistic exploration of cruelty and passion set amid the devastation of the 30 Years' War. Perfect for fans of Robert Eggers' The Witch and readers of Agustina Bazterrica's The Unworthy. I'm really looking forward to this one. Don't judge a book by its cover, sure, but look up the cover art for this. If you click with the cover art, you're going to want to read the book.
I also have to say, one, I feel like there's some themes in our last two books that go together, but I also have to say that We Dance Upon Demons, the cover art for that is done by Hey Copy. I just loved it from the second I saw it. So yeah. Just look at all the covers of everything we recommend, please.
Exactly. They're there for a reason.
Covers are great. All right. My last book is Homebound by Portia Elan. It comes out May 5th. I usually try to get my hands on anything that is compared to Emily St. John Mandel's Station 11. So this one caught my eye as a book list review says it is also a plausible, forlorn version of the future, one that's tied to the past through the staying power of stories. Debut novelist Elan presents a story starting in 1983 where grief-stricken college student Bex is on a mission to complete the video game of Homebound, a text-based adventure video game about an interconnected world that her computer programmer Uncle Ben was working on before he died of AIDS. What she ends up creating, the publisher says, will echo far into the future and shape the lives of a scientist, a sentient automaton, and a flinty sea captain in ways she cannot imagine. All are bound together by their search for connection and by a futuristic traveler on a mysterious mission through space. A Shelf Awareness review says Elan creates not just one, but 4 distinct threads spanning 7 centuries. The result is a surprisingly hopeful book that celebrates community and belonging and the enduring magic of storytelling. Author Ruth Ozeki says, Homebound is a big, bold, ecstatic world full of heart and wonder where stories weave through time to connect us and our faith in each other makes us human. And Charles Yu calls it a novel to get lost in. Homebound is deeply felt, deftly crafted, and beautifully written. A story of friendship and family, of hope and invention and love, an inspiring debut.
All the titles mentioned today can be found in a list on our episode description. Stop by on the first Tuesday of every month to hear about new books coming out dropping that month. That's our episode. Thanks for joining us for New Title Drop for May 2026.